There are so many words in my brain, and there are not enough hours in the day and not enough good, kind people who can take it all on. So, welcome YouTube. Or welcome me to YouTube. I'm Georgia, I'm 26 years old and I live in London. I'm in a pretty intense period of my kind of career development and life. I'm trying to be an actor. I've been trying to be an actor for 2 years, but we shouldn't say trying. There is no trying. There is only do or do not. We'll do that in another video. We'll cover that. I am an actor. Still hard to say that, but I am an actor. I have spotlight, I have equity, I don't have an agent, but I'm just as much an actor as anyone else. And yes, correct, I am telling myself that as much as you guys. So this year, I applied to drama school. Hang on. Rewind.
I little teapot saw danced out in my handle in my spout. When a kettle boiling in me salt. Tip me up and pour me out.
Very good, Georgie. How about old MacDonald? Can you sing that?
There are videos of me from when I was about 2, singing songs and entertaining and acting, really. I think that's what it was, looking back. And I think I've always done that right through primary school. Looking back, I have always been an actor. It's part of me and my personality in a way that no one could ever validate or invalidate. And I think that sense of actors needing external validation is something that really it's not that I'm immune to it. I'm not at all. Fuck's sake, I'm starting a YouTube channel, but it doesn't feel like something that anyone can take away from me. I just am an actor. I will always be an actor in the same way that I will always be a Pisces. Then I went to secondary school.
Very good.
And I really don't want to get emotional because it's my first vlog, but secondary school was a pretty traumatic time for me. It was pretty horrible. And we'll get onto that in other videos as well, I'm sure. All of this is to come. There's so much to come. But secondary school was pretty horrible, and it was a big, big knock to my confidence. I felt pretty much invisible for the 7 years that I was there. And I also simultaneously got terrible, terrible parts in the school plays, which I would religiously apply for. This is the thing. When I got bad parts, it didn't feel like they were saying you're not an actor. That's who I was. I just innately as a child just felt like I could take up space. And then I went to secondary school and that part of me was so crushed continuously. So I got really terrible parts and very little encouragement, if not quite a lot of discouragement from teachers. Needless to say, by the end of school, my confidence was pretty crushed. And although I wanted to be in the theatre and I wanted to be around actors, I didn't have the confidence to audition for drama school. So I applied for costume instead. I got in to the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School, which was just, I loved it. I went and I just loved it. I loved everything I learned. I loved being around actors, being in the theatre. Although I, by the end of it, thought that I wanted to work in fashion design, I actually had been finding a way to get on stage all the way through my degree in a theatre school where there were 80 trained actors or training actors available to do all the parts in all the extracurricular theatre that there was, I somehow found a way to muscle my way in on stage, and I would do write nights and scratch nights and things you had to audition for. And so I left Bristol Old Vic Theatre School with a BA in costume production for theatre, TV and film. I became a seamstress. I did acting evening classes. Then I started to apply for little jobs on Mandy and Backstage and the more accessible casting websites. So I was able to put together a show reel, and I was able to get more roles and more roles, and eventually I found myself with enough paid work that I could get Spotlight. And Spotlight is supposedly it's the #1 casting platform for actors in the UK. But needless to say, it's a big achievement to get Spotlight because you have to have 2 paid credits or an accredited drama school degree or an agent recommendation. So you have to have, there's a barrier to entry where there isn't to the other ones. So I got Spotlight and I got Equity, which is the union membership. To all intents and purposes, then I was an actor. Right? I mean, before I had these criteria in my head that I would have to meet if I was going to call myself an actor. I wasn't an actor because I didn't have an agent. I wasn't an actor because I didn't have Spotlight. I didn't have Equity. I hadn't had paid work. I wasn't acting right now. I hadn't trained. And I started to meet some of these criteria. And as I was ticking these things off the list and looking around me, there were actors who had trained but didn't have an agent and weren't working and hadn't worked in a really long time. And there were actors who had trained and they had Spotlight and they had Equity, but they hadn't had any work since they'd trained. Or there were actors who were working right now, but they hadn't trained, they didn't have an agent, and they didn't have Spotlight. And so I sort of realized that this combination of criteria that I'd made in my head for what an actor is was completely made up. And so I started to realize that I am an actor and that can't be accredited or qualified in any way. I just am. But I think there was something missing. And that brings me on to the next chapter. I felt like there was something missing, a kind of toolbox to draw from. I did a play and 2 of the other 3 actors there had been trained, and they had these techniques that they could draw on that they had them locked back there and they could just, yep, I need that one. I watched the kind of dexterity that they had with a script, with direction, with movement, and they just had this kind of fluence to them. Is that a word? Fluency. They had this fluency to them. So I think I have good instincts when it comes to acting, but I don't have that kind of background of knowledge. And so I started to look into training and I started to look into the different options. Let me tell you, they are extremely expensive, and it is very difficult to discern what is a worthwhile way to spend your money and your time. I had a pretty good kind of network around me to help me find that right course for me. And I also knew that I didn't want to do 3 years. I just wanted to do 1 year or 2 years maximum. And I knew that I'd used up the BA funding on my degree, so I would have to do a master's if I was going to get funding from the government. So that left me with 5 options that I was really excited to apply to. And so in the January of this year, 2024, I applied to Lamda for the MFA Classical Acting, Bristol Old Vic Theatre School for the MFA in Acting, which newly this year was open to UK students, where before it was only open to international students. I applied to the Central School of Speech and Drama for their MA Classical Acting. I applied to Mountview for their MA Acting, and I applied to the Oxford School of Drama for their 1-year course in acting, which is not an accredited MA, but it is an accredited level 5 qualification. And when I applied to these courses, I would be thrilled to go to any of them. Genuinely, any of them. I thought, I'm not going to get any offers, but I'll put my hat in the ring and they'll say no, and so I'll just be an untrained actor. I'll just be an actor who's proudly untrained. But then I got a recall I think my first recall was from Bristol Old Vic, and they offered me a place. I got a place, I'm going to drama school! And the same drama school that I've already been to, which would have been a really weird twist to go back there as an actor. So I got rejected from Lamda. I got an offer from Bristol Old Vic. I got rejected from Mountview. I got an offer from Central School of Speech and Drama, and I got waitlisted from the Oxford School of Drama. So that's where we're at now. Except I never thought I'd get 2 offers. I never thought I'd get any offers. To get 2 offers, just, I feel like I'm accepting an Oscar. They're unbelievable. But yeah, something didn't feel right. Again, I think I'll go into this in more detail in another video probably, but when I went to the Oxford open day and then the recall and then the second recall, I just felt like I was already a student there. I felt so at home there, and I felt so supported by the teachers and the audition panel even. I mean, they weren't even teachers in that, they were an audition panel, but I felt like they were rooting for me, and I felt like their sole purpose was to get me into the industry. And I was watching these classes with these actors, and they were just incredible to start with, but in 45 minutes they would go from incredible to just phenomenal, because these teachers would just bolster them up, and the fellow students as well would give really insightful, supportive but constructive criticism. I just fell in love. I know it sounds so cliche, but I was looking up houses. I was on the coach back, and I was on Rightmove looking for flat shares. Like, I was so sure, not that I would get in, but that was the place for me. So I went through this whole process of rejecting the offer from Bristol, accepting the offer from Central, because I didn't have an offer from Oxford. I still don't have an offer from Oxford. And then with 48 hours to go until my deposit would become non-refundable for Central School of Speech and Drama, I rejected my place there. And I'm saying that like it's a brag. It's not a brag. It could be a complete flop. Like, if I don't get into Oxford next year, it could be the biggest mistake of my life. But if I get in, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. Like, if I get in, I'll be so happy. I'll be so happy. It'll be so good. I really want to get in. We've said no to 2 offers. We're still on the waiting list. Technically, I am still on the waiting list for Oxford School of Drama. And the course doesn't start till the 30th of September, and it's currently the 30th of August. So I could still get in. I don't know whether I have time now to move to Oxford and find someone to take my room in this house. And so if they called me tomorrow, I don't know if I would be able to accept. Who am I kidding? Of course I would accept if they called me tomorrow. But if they call me in 2 weeks' time, I don't know if I'll be able to go. But it doesn't matter, because applications open in October. I'm going to pick new speeches. I don't think there was anything wrong with my speeches last time, but I just think it'll be fun to mix it up and do something else. So if I can find new speeches, I'm going to do new speeches, and I'm going to go and audition again. And this time, I really want to get in. So that's what we're going to be doing together. That's why we're doing this. I'm going to take you along with me and find new pieces. I'm going to talk about what I did last year, what I'm going to do differently this year, and what I'm going to do the same. The whole audition process from last year, every school I auditioned for, how far I got, what I thought of the panel, what I thought of the process, all of it. You're all gonna come along with me and we're gonna do it together. And I already feel like I'm not as alone in this. So even though I'm talking to my phone, you'll see all of it. Yeah. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be good. Okay, I have a pretty low energy voice. I'm Georgia, I guess. Okay, my life story, chapter 1. Wowza. Well, hey YouTube. Hello YouTube.